Steven Kotler. Yo. Yo. That was the worst De Niro impersonation ever. But that's not even why you're here, not to watch me do horrible impersonations of Robert De Niro. Somehow you found your way here because you want to listen to my book review on The Rise of Superman. Well, Kotler does it again. The man is phenomenal about writing on the subject of peak performance, flow, and overall tips, tricks, best practices for being a phenomenal, incredibly high performing human being. And The Rise of Superman, he does it once again. I'm probably going to make my entire way through the whole Steven Kotler library at this point because his books are just phenomenal. He also co-wrote Bold. He wrote Abundance. I think he co-wrote that one as well. What's the one that I just finished? I've actually got a review on The Art of Impossible. Fantastic book. And here's why I suggest you read all of Kotler's books too. Now, some people may think that this is not a good thing. I happen to think this is a great thing. You will find things in Bold that you'll probably find either the theme or maybe a data point or something that's in The Rise of Superman, that's in Abundance, that's in, The Art of Impossible. But I think that's a good thing because that just helps reiterate the point and it kind of embeds it in your mind. So I love reading Kotler's books because it's kind of his voice taking all this incredible knowledge and research he's done. Like, I mean, the guy actually went jet skiing with Laird Hamilton. How that would not suck. It'd be scary as hell, I'm sure, which I think that Kotler mentions that. Maybe that was either in Bold or The Art of Impossible where he talks about that. But here's the deal. So he talks about going out and reporting on extreme sports guys. He goes and he said that I think this was in the Art of Impossible that the thing about these guys is they like to try to take journalists on a joyride that scares the hell out of them. And Laird Hamilton was no exception to that. He actually takes them out on jet skis, and they talked about how leaning into fear is how they had to overcome it. So that was in The Art of Impossible. I'm pretty sure that's where that story was. Well, fast forward, or actually backwards, because this book actually came out before The Art of Impossible. The Rise of Superman, he actually writes about a little more detail about Laird Hamilton and why he's such an incredible surfer, probably the greatest big wave surfer at this point that's ever lived. And I just love Steven Kotler's writing. So there's a plug first and foremost for Steven Kotler and why you should read his books. Now, The Rise of Superman. So, first of all, what is this book about? Well, predominantly about it's about two things: flow and extreme sport athletes, okay? And why these guys that have made their living snowboarding, skating, rock climbing, um, you know, base diving, all these really free diving, all these really incredible extreme sports, how we've gone back to look at why they are able to do these incredible things that they do, and it turns out so much of it has to do with their ability to get into a state of flow really quickly. So if you've never studied flow, I know just the word, it sounds kind of woo woo, but flow is an incredible state of mind where all the neurochemicals in your brain are hitting properly on all cylinders, and it's really a special and incredible thing. And what it will almost make you do, and this is hence the name of the book, The Rise of Superman, it can almost take you to a supernatural place, almost a superhuman place. If you can really get into a state of flow, you can work longer, you can work harder. Hunger seems to go away, focus is tightened. And the thing about these extreme sport guys is that part of the reason why these guys end up in a state of flow so quickly and so often is because the body has a tendency to react whenever it's in certain situations, life and death in particular, into getting into this incredible flow state. So what Kotler does is he goes into the science of that and why it's happened. But here's the deal: my favorite part of this book, honestly, yes, I love learning about the brain and I love learning about neurochemicals and the cocktails that make us perform in certain different ways. That's awesome. I'm all into the science that is mentioned in this book. But more than anything, I had never heard of some of these extreme sports guys. That's just I've never followed any of that. I mean, whenever I was a kid, yeah, I was a I tried to be a skater for about 5 minutes, but that just wasn't my deal. But obviously, I knew who Tony Hawk was, who's in the book, and all these. Oh, oh gosh, where Laird Hamilton, of course, that I mentioned, and some of these Danny Way. I had no idea who Danny Way was. Who is the guy who basically conceived of the mega ramp and then freaking jumped over the Great Wall of China on a skateboard with a fractured, if not broken, ankle. Who does that? These guys. They're just reading the stories about these individuals who are almost superhuman and at a minimum have done superhuman feats was really fun. And as a result, like I mentioned, Danny Way, there's actually a documentary I highly recommend that I learned about in this book called Waiting on Lightning, I think is what it's called. It's about Danny Way and the actual jump that he made over the Great Wall of China. But before that, it takes you just kind of into the history of skating. And I remember, I'm a child of the 80s, which is, that's whenever skateboarding, thrashing and all that started kind of really coming into being. So it was really fun. Here is here's some of the practical things that you learn from the book as it relates to the state of flow and how to get yourself best positioned for peak performance. So here's just a little something I underlined. This automatic feedback is another reason extreme athletes have found flow so frequently. But what if we're interested in pulling this trigger without the help from the laws of physics? No mystery here. Tighten feedback loops, put mechanisms in place so attention doesn't have to wander. Ask for more input. How much input? Well, forget quarterly reviews. Think daily reviews. Studies have found that in professions with less direct feedback loops, stock analysis, psychiatry, and medicine, even the best get worse over time. But how? Check this out. Surgeons, by contrast, are the only class of physician that improve the longer they're out of medical school. Why? Mess up on the table and someone dies. That's immediate feedback. And here's the thing that Kotler talks about whenever we get an immediate feedback for success, which is like if you land an incredible jump on a skateboard, or you crush a downhill run on skis, the feedback is immediately for those guys, right? They pulled off what is seemingly a superhuman feat, and it can happen as quick as 4 seconds, or a minute. It happens really fast, so the feedback is almost immediate. So, and they also know, like whenever they make it down a mountain and they hit a trick or whatever, the feedback is immediate. They survive, they're living, and they crush that one maneuver. So the idea here is to take that science and put it into your daily life to shorten feedback loops, get the positive feedback whenever you achieve something as much and as tightly as you can. And that will give you a dopamine hit that feels good and will keep pushing you forward. A great example is like whenever I have a podcast, the Texas Titans podcast, and learning how to produce that podcast was a beatdown for me in a lot of ways, just because, not that it's that complex, but I just don't like doing that sort of thing. But what has made me enjoy it is the challenge of it. I had no clue before I came on doing these. I had no idea how to use Ecamm Live, how streaming was done, none of it. The further I go, the better I get, and it feels good to have that immediate feedback that, now I know how to do this. Now I know how to do the setup. So that's kind of the idea with this. I loved the book. It's a real quick read, and the cool thing is, like I said, it is so much just just little miniature biographies, as are a lot of Kotler's books, because he's constantly researching and interviewing very, very high performers. And there is so much in here that can be taken and used in just everyday life. I think that it's being in a state of flow is something that it really is a special place. And okay, and I'm not going to get preachy here, but I do want to say that I'm a guy that never done drugs. I do not drink alcohol. my whole Vitruvian mindset is to improve always in all ways. And it's not that I don't do those things for scruples or morals or anything like that. It's because I want to maintain peak performance and mental clarity in a way that that puts me in that flow state as often as possible. But I want to do it naturally. And what you learn, and this is one of the biggest takeaways that I've had from Steven Kotler's writings, because he has studied this so intently, is that if you just take the time to figure out the different ways that you can actually hack into your neurochemistry, you can get to a state of, you get to a pretty cool state. Like, for instance, I mean, cocaine is a drug that essentially just makes your brain release heavy amounts of dopamine, which feels really good, but cocaine is really bad for you. So therefore, why not figure out the natural ways to release that dopamine and to create chemical cocktails in your brain that are going to make you perform better in a healthy way? And it's just using your body to the maximum amount, which I think is kind of the height of existence, is to be able to not just function in the world, but to function at the absolute best of your abilities, which is kind of this whole Vitruvian mindset, is to learn and make yourself the absolute best version of yourself that you can possibly be. So with that, I highly recommend the book. I can't say enough good things about it, and which again, it's kind of the thing I say about every Steve Kotler book I've read. Now, I read Bold before I started the Vitruvian book reviews, so maybe I will go back and do a review on that just because to put it in kind of like, so there'll be like a Kotler series maybe, because if you're interested in peak performance, then he's a guy that's kind of writing some cool, almost textbooks on the subject. So with that, thank you for checking out I think the 14th Vitruvian book review of the year, where I am going to review 52 books at a minimum, because that's the goal this year, is to read at least one book per week. That was my challenge for myself. That's what started this whole thing. I hope you will join me. And then also, please, please come here. Do me a favor. I need your help. Please subscribe to this channel. I really want to build out a channel where I can create content that talks about peak performance, the neurochemistry I'm talking about, best practices in health, fitness, nutrition, just anything that can help improve always in all ways, which is the motto for the Vitruvian Project. Also, if you would please go out to Instagram. You can follow me there at Jason Right Now. I've also set up an account called Vitruvian on Insta. Check that out. And then the Facebook group is the Vitruvian Project group. Please check that out. It's a private group, but you have to answer one simple question to get in. The secret knock, the secret handshake is, are you someone interested in improving always in all ways? That's it. I want a community of overachievers. I want a community of people who want to make the world better by making themselves better. That's it. That's who I want to surround myself with. That's the tribe that I want to build. And that's what the Vitruvian Project is all about. Finally, last pitch. This is it. Doesn't cost a penny. Go to jasonrightnow.com or thevitruvianproject.com and please sign up for the Vitruvian letter, my newsletter. I have been doing it weekly. I think I may pull that back a little bit so I can get, I mean, look, the longer between issues or installments of the Vitruvian letter, the more time I have to put things together. I'm constantly reading. I'm watching documentaries. I'm listening to different podcasts to try to just gain all this knowledge. And, I think maybe getting a beefier issue out. When I say beefier, I just mean content rich, but really pithy, really pointed, really packing a punch in small bite-sized segments. So it's not that long, but I'm trying to get the best content from all around and bring it to you to hopefully make you look and go, oh, that sounds like something cool, like the Danny Way Waiting on Lightning documentary. Go check that out. Or the Dawn Wall. I think I've written about that, which is an incredible documentary about free solo climbing, and then free solo, which is probably one of the best documentaries on rock climbing that there is out there. So anyway, it's just stuff like that I talk about, that, kind of like learning about different things in this book as far as documentaries and things and people that I'd never even heard of and figuring out their story and learning from it. That's what I try to bring to you so that you can go, oh, I want to check that out. Also, if I do, and this is kind of geeky, I get it, but I read a lot of medical research papers about different things with health, life extension, that sort of thing. If I find something that's really one digestible, that's not just so clinical and academic that it makes your eyes go cross, I'll share that with you. So those are the things that you can find on the Vitruvian in the Vitruvian letter. I'd really appreciate it if you check that out. So with that, The Rise of Superman, great book. Check it out if you're into peak performance. If you're into figuring out how to get the greatest um, uh, use out of this our being. It's the greatest. Our body and our brain. It's the greatest equipment we have for performing anything. And if you want to get the most out of it, then start reading these books. And The Rise of Superman is one you should put in your toolkit. And with that, thanks for joining me. Please keep checking back on these reviews. I love doing them, and I'm so thankful that you take the time to watch them. And shoot me a message. Let me know things you're reading. I want recommendations, best practices, all of it. With that, thanks so much, folks. Go crush your day and improve always in all freaking ways. I'm out.